Good morning, everyone. So thrilled to be here with you. Happy Monday. It's morning where I am, but it could be afternoon if it's in Japan or China. It's 12 hours later, so it's nighttime on Monday. They've already lived a whole day. I'm Leslie Flowers, and as you come into the room, I see you spilling in. I'm so excited to have you. I'm going to sing you a song as I usually do to give you a chance to get your coffee and get settled. So here's a little one from the 60s I think you'll really like. And Steve Hudgins is here, by the way, today. Oh, so exciting. In the chilly hours and minutes of uncertainty, I want to be in the warm hold of your love and mine. To feel you all around me and to take your hand along the sand. But I may as well try and catch the wind. When sundown pales the sky, I want to hide a while behind your smile. And everywhere I look, your eyes would find me. For me to love you now would be the sweetest thing, would make me sing. But I may as well try and catch the wind. Dee 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 dee. When the rain has hung the leaves with tears, I want you near to kill my fears, to help me leave all my blues behind. Standing in your heart is where I want to be and long to be. But I may as well try and catch the wind. But I may as well try and catch the wind. But I may as well try and catch the wind. Wow. That's an old 60s song from Donovan Leitch from the United Kingdom. That was back in the folk rock generation, which many of you, your parents know. So, and I'm so glad that you're all here. And the first thing I want to do is bring up our wonderful guest. I want you all to get to meet him. So here we go. Let us bring up Dr. Steve Hudgins. Good morning, Dr. Hudgins. How are you?
Good morning. I am doing fantastic. And how is Miss Leslie?
Leslie is doing great this morning. So excited to have you. So this is your first time here. So what I want you to do is to meet some of these people. Steve's big following, I think, is on Facebook, but he's building one here. So if you are on Facebook, you can always support him when you see posts there. But most of all, I wanted him to get to know you because Steve, Dr. Steve, if I may call you that, these are people who are thought leaders, who are all about mindset, and they know that what we're thinking actually creates our results. We may not understand 100% how it works, but it does work. So I'm excited to have you here today, and I want to introduce you to these folks, and then I'm going to introduce them to you. Or maybe I should introduce you first. No, let's introduce them. Let's introduce them first, because people have asked me, well, why do I acknowledge each person? And it's because I think we all love and want to be acknowledged. And I don't always see myself as brilliant as you do. Case in point, your book, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But, I know I'm good at what I do, but it pleases me no end when I exceed your expectations. I think that's it. And you'd be the only one to tell me that, because I won't be able to tell myself that. So let's start off with this gal here. Look here. Here is 𝙈𝙾𝙧 𝙈𝙾𝙧, and Nicole is the publisher of Guiding Brilliant Writers Publishing, LLC. And you'll get to hear a lot more about her. I am a line editor for her business. And so, Nicole, thank you so much for being here. You know how much you mean to me and everyone in the writers community, friends also. But Nicole has built quite an expansive writers community by publishing oodles of anthologies on very vital subjects. So thanks for being here. And there's Peter Mulfler. He's in Texas. I hope everything's okay down there with you. We only hear from the news, Peter. Peter is an HR specialist. And I've known him, gosh, I think I met Peter right after COVID. And I found out that he really knows a lot about goal setting, which is one of my specialties, because he's a weightlifter. And so people that are in sports already know about visualization. They already know what they have to do to set a goal. So do our kids if they're competing in sports. But that's pretty much it. So I guess because it's competitive and there's money there. And here's our wonderful Christy Williams. Steve, Christy and I are part of another platform that started here called the 2350 Network. And it's a personal development network. You're shaking your head so you know about this. And Christy's part of that. So is Nicole. And it's building to develop us all. And Christy, you'll get to know, is omnipresent everywhere. And she supports like crazy. So if you just watch what she does, just what Christy does on LinkedIn, you'll build a huge following. That is important, right? Because we want things to happen for you here too. And there's Wendy. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening to you, Wendy, a beautiful supporter of Mind Over Matter Mondays. And then on Fridays, you all know, most of you know that on Fridays at 10 a.m., I will take you through the vital lessons in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. So on Mondays, you get Mindset Here with different disciplines of how to manage what you're thinking rather than allowing your reactions, which are based on fear, to shut out really your higher voice. So how do we do that? Well, we build the muscle of focus and concentration, which is dissipated basically with all the sensory overload. And Steve, you don't know this about me because we work together in a different capacity. But anyway, it'll be fun for you, I think, too. So Christy is amazing. So just like I said, if you just follow her, watch what she does, you'll be a star. You don't have to do everything. Just pick one thing. Thank you, Meryl. Meryl shares a lot of lives that we have. And yes, the intro and what I call the outro was done by Aaron Gibson, who was on his way from Canada to Texas. He's got a lot of chutzpah to cross that border, don't you think? He's going to keep a really low profile. Thank you. Thank you, Meryl. I love that intro. And, you know, Aaron did it just knowing me. So I didn't talk to him about it at all, but he knows me very well. So it was perfect. Thank you, Meryl. And here's Adrienne. Adrienne lives up in New England, and she is also a big supporter and does a lot of reposting and always is present. Most of the people in this room, Dr. Steve, are here every week. Right. And if they can't be, then they'll do team replay, which is the hashtag replay, so that I know, right, that they've been here. But also, here's what's important. Everyone in the audience today, please ask questions and comment on anything you're hearing, because when we go back to listen to this, you really only have to listen to the second half, because we do this, right, for the first half, basically. And this repetition is how we learn. So it's important that you go back and listen to this again, the second half hour, to more get more clear about the concepts. And you may not get them all today. You may only get one or two, but that's the nature of growing awareness. You're not supposed, right? I see Steve, Dr. Steve. I'm Dr. A lot of people know me as Dr. Leslie. It's only because I've got over 20,000 hours and written a whole bunch of, it's just, it kind of caught. And anyway, there's Linda Meyer. And Linda is all about food and dietitian, and she's a regular. And Linda, thank you so much for being here. I know you visit a lot of lives, so it means a lot to me that you are here. You really want to get to, if you don't know Dr. Steve, please find him and follow him. This is Ashif, Steve, and Ashif is the modern day Rumi. Okay, he is Rumi reincarnated. If you believe in reincarnation, right? When we don't know, maybe not. But anything that I write or people write, he can do it more succinctly and more eloquently. He's in Toronto, so I really would love for you to get to know him. Big supporter of this work. He lives this work. Most all of us here do, the mindset work. And there's David Pushkin. He's in the United Kingdom. Yes, virtual high five from London. Thank you. Hey, David. I know that you're doing Saturdays too, social Saturday chat. So it's always good to see you there. Oh my goodness, look who's here. Michael Rada. Michael is a leader. He's from Czechoslovakia and the leader of 5.0, Industry 5.0. Everything is about the future. And thank you, Michael, for being here. I know it's rare. I don't know that you've ever been here before. Michael Rada has an early morning international conversation every Wednesday morning. And he picks one word, and people from all over the world come in and talk a little bit about that one word. So if you're interested in that, connect with Michael and he'll send you an invitation to that Wednesday morning. Eastern, it's 6 a.m. So, if you live in Europe or heading that way, it's better for you. But yeah, we have Tracy who is in Texas. So it's, I think, 5 a.m. where she is. Yes. So let's see. The intro. Yes. He is epic, isn't he? We all just love Aaron. All right. And Meryl is in Paramus, New Jersey. Steve is in Oklahoma, in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. I totally love it. All right. Let's see who else is here. There's Carl Dakin. Hi, Carl. Carl is all about investing. If investing is your thing and you want to get really good at it, and make a lot of money, generate a lot of income, Carl's your guy. And here's Tracy. Yeah. So she's calling in from Houston, and Aaron is on his way there right now, by the way, but not to see you, but heading over to, I can't remember, Arkansas for work. So, all right, let's see who else we have here. We're at 10:15. We're doing really well. So Sharon Rose is online in LinkedIn as Rosie Speaks, Dr. Steve. She does this work and she is an amazing soul. Every one of these people are your people. And there's Sandra Bolte. She's been on here before too. You're on the road. You're coming home from North Carolina. Oh, I know you. And I'm in North Carolina, but we were too far away from each other. So glad you're here. Sandra is a master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming and also hypnotherapy. She's done this show for 2 weeks, and I'll likely have her back again. But Sandra, you really have to connect with Dr. Steve. You will adore each other's work. So thank you for being here while you're on the road. And I hope Brian's there too. And here's Mark Tumar calling in from India. So what must be tea time, late afternoon, early supper time? And let's see. And then you can look through here to see who else is here. This is Eni Osang. He is the godfather of lives on LinkedIn. It used to be audio rooms, but those disappeared about a year ago, or almost a year ago. So he has a lot of wonderful shows. Please connect with him. He's also a publisher. So he not only runs lives and supports other people into their greatness, right, and supports them in how to do these shows, but he's also a publisher of our work. We love it. And here's Joni Hargrave. Joni is sweet and kind. She lives in the Midwest, raises golden retrievers, and is a hidden business owner. Joni, I'm so glad you're here. I've missed you. I'm so happy to see you. Let's see who else. Omar is in Arizona. You just woke up, huh? Let me see. Oops, wait a minute. Here we go. Yeah, for the Flowers show. By the way, the name of that intro is Flowers, and Aaron wrote the song, wrote the music with AI. And here's 𝙈𝙪 𝙠𝙠. She's up even earlier. She's on the West Coast. People who come here, at 7 a.m., they're serious about starting their day each week this way. All right. Are we ready now? We are ready. Let me just tell you about Steve. I haven't let him say anything yet, but don't worry. I promise I'll let him talk. Okay. So let me tell you about Dr. Steve. First of all, I have to tell you, before I tell you anything, he has a book. I'm muting you right now, Steve, because there was some background noise coming in. So it's okay. I'll unmute you, or you can unmute in just a minute. So here's what you don't know. Most of you know that I have been a line editor and published several books of my own, but published for other people. And I've line edited 18 manuscripts while I just finished editing Dr. Steve's. So when I tell you what he has written is going to blow your mind and make a big change in the world, I know what I'm talking about, because there were 100,000 words in that manuscript, and I read every one. Every single one. Dr. Steve, I started diagnosing myself. All the things that I always wanted to know that were wrong with me. Too bad I'm getting to know them now. But look, Dr. Steve, he has a master's in counseling and also a doctor of education in community counseling. And there are other letters behind his name, but basically that's the work that he does. And I want you to know him as the creator of Mosaic Family Systems Theory and the founder of the Mosaic Family Institute. And you're going to learn today why this is so important and so powerful. He's a licensed professional counselor, supervisor, which is an LPCS. He's an author, a professor with a focus on emotional healing, trauma recovery, and complex family systems. He founded Mosaic Family Systems Theory, a groundbreaking model for understanding and supporting blended families, or what he calls mosaic families. And I will tell you, he's dedicated to families moving beyond what we know as blended families to a new and much needed concept and view into mosaic families. We'll talk about the challenges today in setting boundaries in a multi-mosaical family, to a community group, a sports team, anywhere where boundaries are either unclear or not distinguished at all. So with that being said, here we go. Dr. Steve, you can unmute yourself. I can do it. Let me do it. There we go.
I feel like the duct tape came off of my mouth. That's excellent. I can talk.
Yeah. And let me tell you, it's only 10:21, and I've been known to go all the way to 10:30 on this. So, I really sped through as fast as I could.
Leslie, thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I am so excited. Steve, before we get into the lesson that you're going to show that is vital for mosaic families, what I got from your writing was it's all about playing fair, right? Whatever group you're in, and having an open dialogue, bottom line. So tell us a little bit about the concept of mosaic families and how it's different and why it's so important in today's landscape of marriage and family. Please, you can start us off before we begin with the lesson.
Yeah, a lot of it, it comes from personal experience. You know, being married into a blended family, I didn't know. I had no clue. If I had a book to help guide me, I wouldn't be here. The thing about it is that I learned a lot on my personal end, but I also learned a lot about myself when I became a therapist. Uh, just dealing with understanding and processing what caused me to get into the relationships that I did. And I talk about that in my book about having an anxious attachment style that led me into blended family. But
So
as
tell
I
them
was,
what a blended family is, so that when you explain mosaic, they'll know, distinguish what a blended family is in the simplest of terms, please.
yeah, blended family is you have two biological families that have divorced, and the two biological parents come together and form this unique family. Sometimes one will bring children in, sometimes the one person does not. Sometimes they even create a child within the already mix of families. And so when you think about blended, I don't like that term. It's like putting stuff in a blender and there's no individuality, no boundaries whatsoever, and it just becomes a muck. And that's what I learned about being in a blended family is that there needs to be boundaries that need to be set.
Yeah, and really, when you have a blended family, if you have a divorce, so you've got two parents, two more parents, you've got children from both families. Oh, and then you also have in-laws,
Uh,
right? So the
or
family
outlaws.
are outlaws. Well, living in the US, we can tell you, that's how we started, with outlaws out in the West. Anyway, um, so that's a lot of people to blend, because it would seem to me that there would already be some boundaries set before the family split. So you came into this blended family, which is simply two divorced families coming together, where there are some boundaries, but they're not the same or aligned. Is that fair?
That's fair. And I'll go in more into it. And what if you don't mind, let me share a little bit of a personal story. When I was in a blended family, uh, I realized there was something amiss. I raised my children from a young age to be self-sufficient. So sometimes, yes, I would have to remind them do things, but for the majority, I have two well independent children. My son would come down, do his laundry, clean his room without having to be asked.
Wow.
And she would bring up, their non biological parent would bring up, what is it that you're getting onto my children, but you don't do yours? And that was an aha moment for me to realize that there should be boundaries, not that I'm taking responsibility away from the non bio parent.
Right.
And that's where I kind of look at it. Okay, I need to be that mentor. I need to be the coach on the sidelines of a baseball game, of being able to be that coach and support her and how she's going to coach and run her team.
Got
We'll
it.
talk
And
a
then
little
you have
bit.
to be aligned, though. Don't the two of you have to be aligned in some way?
There should be. And one of the things that I tell couples who are in blended families or any kind of family, take it outside of the way from the children.
Hmm. Hmm.
If
Hmm.
if you have a disagreement, don't correct each other in front, take them aside and then come together as a united front. Now, is it healthy for children to see some arguments, and are you able to resolve those? Well, sure, but not to a point of where it's causing a detrimental of trauma, yelling out loud or yelling at each other or yelling at the kids. So I'll talk a little bit more later
Sure.
about the difference between boundaries and rules.
So take it now. So we know what a blended family is. Everybody knows what that is. And this is a great comment by Annie. Thank you, Annie, for that. it's so challenging. But now that we understand the blended family, but based on statistics, from my understanding, Dr. Steve, is that half of first marriages end in divorce, and 65 to 70% of second and third marriages do also. So that's where your theory comes in, and the distinction between blended and mosaic. So tell us what mosaic families are, because I had to look up the word mosaical. I didn't think it was a word. It's a word.
It is. And what's so fascinating about the research that I did is I kept seeing over and over in documentations that 65% of second marriages end in divorce. And I'm like, where's this coming from? Because the statistics has not changed since the 90s. And that's where I began to research. And I found like nobody has done a hermeneutical, phenomenological, qualitative research. I know those are big words. And I have a trouble saying them all together at once.
Neither a fourth grader can't do it very well either.
No, that's like, I can never say the supercalifragilistic. I can't even go there anymore. But when I look at the mosaic, I found like, in my research, and I had participants, a mother, daughter, a father, daughter. I had a child or a person that grew up in the military, a person that was enlisted, a person that was an officer, 4 Native Americans. I had an Amish person. So I had a conglomerate of different messages that came across. And what I found, it doesn't matter. If you bleed red, you're a human being that experienced a high conflict divorce or a divorce situation that caused you to break off from a nuclear family. Well, when you get blended, I look at it as 2 shards that are broken, that come together to form a mosaic. And when I think about a mosaic, you have mortar. You have these shards that come together, and the light of the family shines through this mosaic that produces these boundaries, that produces the individuality that's there. And
let me just say this about that. You did a beautiful job of blending the word mosaic and the art of mosaic with the uniqueness of each human being. And everybody was right. Everybody was heard. Every piece, no matter whether it was smooth or it was sharp, or how much grout or lead glue you would need, all the pieces formed together with a beautiful family unit, which is based on playing fair and an open dialogue. And so for those of you, I will tell you that the comparison or the analogies with art are pretty significant. And 𝙈𝙤 𝙈𝙠, who is a video wizard and visioneer, just got you'll like this, Dr. Steve. She and her partner just brought into public school systems in California Integrate Art, which teaches children and the teachers how to integrate the concept of art into all teaching, which of course is, art is color and creativity. So this mosaic, this piece is fantastic. Now, you mentioned a baseball team. And so what I got from this, although you love this subject, these things are good for any group. I know it sounds crazy. Yes, it's true for a mosaic family. And yes, it's a way to really understand and get clear of where everybody's coming from, right? And understanding when one child feels less than because the biological parent maybe is paying more attention to the non-biological child. In his book, all these different scenarios show up. and they're all managed quite nicely. So simply just reading it gives you enough information. But I got to ask you a question just for fun. Well, what were those three types of, and I'm the second one, when I was diagnosing myself, what are those three things again? Those three types of attachment? Is that it?
The attachment
Anxious.
styles.
Yeah. Yeah. What are those three? Because I figured out who I was at the end of my life. I now know what my problem was. But what were the three again? Did I catch you off guard?
No, when you think about attachment theory, it's first started with John Bowlby and how he looked at attachment styles. And one of the things that I realized is that you have anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, disorganized attachment, and secure attachment.
Okay, I'm in the middle. I'm the second one. Okay. What is that again? Disappearing attachment?
Well, when you think about a secure attachment, right? The secure attachment, the child is feeling safe and confident because the biological or step relationships have this trusting love and care that remain consistent, even though there's change. The anxious attachment is what I'm familiar with and how I golden threaded it through my work in the book. The child clings or worries about losing a parent's attention, often fearing rejection in the new family structure. And for me, because I grew up in the military and growing up and other things that I'll talk about in the book, I reveal some of those things, what caused me to have this anxious. But then you have the avoidant. This is where the child distances emotionally, pulling away from both of them because the child wants to protect itself from, disappointment or loss. Then the final one that I discuss is a disorganized attachment.
That's the worst one, I think. Isn't that the worst one?
That's the worst one.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me. I wasn't the worst one.
Well, it's unresolved trauma, and they divided in loyalties. And this is part of my work of creating a new term of disruptive parental attachment. We need to get rid of parental attachment, alienation, parental alienation syndrome, get rid of that term. It's outdated, and look at disruptive attachment, because that's what happens when we get into these high conflict divorces. And so these children had developed these different attachment styles according to what happens to the child within the family.
Got it. Got it. Awesome. Awesome. Let me say hello really quickly here to, well, goodness, Leanna, who has come in here. She's a dietitian with a specialty in diabetes, and she's up in Duluth, Minnesota. And Chasen Forehand has come in. Dr. Steve, he has an amazing nonprofit that I would love for you to get to know, and I bet you could make a big difference there. And I think I've got everybody. Forgive me if I've missed you. Oh, there's Chorito. So for Chorito, it's 10:30 at night in the Philippines. So thank you for being here. I know it's late for you. I know that. Okay. So we are at 10:35. This is perfect. Now, if you have any questions for Dr. Steve, I noticed that somebody put in which attachment they were. Let's see. Well, thank you, David. Yes, I think so. I love this. I love this. Okay, so let us go into the points that we'd like to make today that Dr. Steve is going to make, and I may ask him some questions. Let me just add this to the stage, and I think I can, oh, that's not what I want. I want here. There we go. Okay, so while we're kind of small, the thing that we talked about, oh, there's Marcello. Hi, let me say hello to this wonderful, oh, that was Jason. Okay, coming in fast. Hi, Marcello. Thanks for being here. Another great person. You want to, anybody that's in the comments on it, you want to get to know. Okay, Steve. So when you and I were talking about this, Steve, you know, we started with family, but then I somehow wanted to make it work for every other group.
Sure.
And then we moved into the baseball team. And so Steve is going to explain to you what these 5 steps are as we look at this baseball team. Now, we counted them up. There are 9 players, and this is a sea level or an elevation view. There must be someone who's coming up to bat who's going to bunt, because typically they're not as close in this. Your outfielders are way out in the outfield. So take it away and tell us, as you're creating boundaries for a mosaic family, or these boundaries work for community, education, baseball teams. Take us through these 5 and let me listen for things that come up that I'd like to ask you. And then anybody who has a question or a comment, remember, when people go back to watch this and read your comments, they're going to get what you said too, which is a super extra benefits. And let me say hello to Sajid Kumar. Yes, absolutely. Sajid Kumar is up in Canada, and he is an HR expert and recruiter and always busy. So I really get that having you here it means something, everybody. So please, Steve, take it away. Let's start with knowing the rules of the game. This is very curious to me. What are the rules?
It was great developing this, because this part is not in the book. Yes, I do talk about boundaries, but how I'm going to describe this, Leslie has created another book for me to write. So I'm just going to call it the Mosaic Family Rulebook. So it's a playbook for families showing how baseball rules, positions, timeouts, and teamwork can teach boundaries that keep love, respect, and unity in what I call the game of life, because we're all in the game of life. And I love baseball. 2011, I went to the World Series and was able to celebrate the Cardinals' wins. I wish they were doing better, but there's a difference between rules and boundaries. So I really want to set the stage for that.
Good.
Rules tell people what they must do. Okay.
What they must do.
Must do. Boundaries tell people what you will do to protect yourself. So there's a big difference between rules. And in my book, I changed the word boundaries to threshold, because threshold is like a door. What are you going to allow in? What are you going to allow out? Or those type of things. So to me, boundaries is like a threshold. I know somebody once said a boundary is like a line in the sand. And I tend to disagree, because lines can be erased and everything. So I like to think of it as a threshold. And so the first rule, or what I call a boundary or a threshold, baseball has those rules: 3 strikes, 4 balls, tag outs. Well, when you think about the rules of the game, foul lines. In baseball, you have the foul lines. And to me, in a family, that's called respect. In families, respect is the foul line. When somebody yells, insults, or crosses that line, the play is no longer fair. And so boundaries help us to keep that into play. Well, when you look at a baseball game, they can't run all over the field. There's rules or boundaries that they have to run baselines, clear pass.
So they're not guidelines; those are rules.
These are some rules, but baselines are clear pass. For example, it tells a runner where to go. So in families, to have clear instructions and rules, speak kindly to one another. Do your homework before screen time. Staying on the path keeps you safe and fair, especially for kids. It can get hectic. Bases and plates are safe places. When I think about, the bases, the first, the second home plate, they're safe spots for people to be in, as long as they're stay tagged. But families also need safe places like bases.
Mm.
Spaces are where kids feel loved, heard, and protected. Those are the things that growing up, oftentimes we didn't feel heard, we didn't feel seen, we didn't feel protected. And so we want to create safe places within the Mosaic family, because oftentimes I hear from my research personnel that I talk to, our participants, they said that they had an upbringing that wasn't resolved. They get into a first marriage, things weren't resolved. Now they're carrying all this into the game. And so the next rule is accountability, tagging
Oh,
rule.
well, hang on a second. Hold on. Can we go back just a tiny bit?
Sure.
Give us an example of let's say, for example, in a family that is a Mosaic family, of a safe space that you create, because there's lots of these in your book. So let's say I want to create a safe space. What is an example of one that you've created with your family as an example?
When you think about validation, that creates a safe place. If a child says, they get upset about something, no, that didn't happen. Or for example, you lied to me, Dad. No, I didn't. How does that help create a safe place when we're pushing down the child's expression of emotion?
So what would you do then? So you wouldn't
Yeah,
argue.
I would say that sounds really bothersome. I want to know, what is it that you felt like that I lied to you about, because I need to be more aware of what it was that I did.
Beautiful. So you asked a question to allow them to express, rather than, saying, no, I didn't, and being confrontational. You begin, which is kind of coaching in a way. You started asking questions. Well, tell me more about it, because obviously you're sensing that you're missing something completely. Is that hard to attain, that kind of objective control, when you're in a Mosaic or a blended family and someone comes to you and says, or your son or daughter says, but Dad, you lied to me? Or is it more difficult if the non-biological child says, well, Mr. Steve, maybe they're still calling you Mr. Steve rather than Dad, right? Whatever name you've given them is a boundary. Is it, how do you manage it? It's got to be different between your own biological child who says you lied to them, as opposed to the non-biological child saying the same thing. How would you treat them differently or the same?
To me, I treated my family, her family, the same. That took practice, because here's where I'm going to go with this.
Please.
As I explained earlier, we have these childhood hurt wounds. So I get couples coming to me and I ask, what's the problem? We can't communicate. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. How did you guys get married in the first place? You communicated. You're still communicating, even though you're arguing. We're communicating from childhood hurt wounds of not being heard, validated, seen, comforted. Oftentimes we go into a question of, why did you do that? And I try to get them to switch the why, because you're going to get, I don't know, a lie, blame, or excuse. And the why puts us in a defense mode. It's a judgmental question to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's about, what was it that caused you to do this? That assumes innocence. And so when I think about putting that into practice, I had to learn to correct my childhood hurt wounds, which I call splinters. Other people call them triggers. I don't like the term trigger, because that's a projection of something we're not taking accountability. And to me, it's a splinter that got stimulated by something that happened. And oftentimes when this splinter gets stimulated, we act in a childlike hurt and tone. So typically when I get into families, I work with his and a her individual session and then come back together as a couple so that we can discuss what it is that we're doing that we're not being able to be seen or heard in our relationship within the family. That's why I like Mosaic, because you have the mortar that creates these boundaries of respect. Even though they're individual pieces, they can come together.
Now, in my work, which I've shared many, many times, these triggers, these originating incidents, they're all fears, right? And they're powerful and they're reactive and they're not thinking. And the practice comes on the thinking side, which is, well, why do I do this? So I love that you're treating both your own biological child and the non-biological child the same way. What made you think that I was lying? Help me understand how it showed up for you that I was lying. I'm missing information and I want to understand. And you know something, this is why I acknowledge, since you're bringing this up and we all have these desires or wants to be acknowledged and recognized, then I think that what we're doing in this group, and many hosts do, is to acknowledge who's in the audience, because doesn't that, through repetition, go a long way for people to understand who they really are in the world and how they're showing up? What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Steve?
Well, I mean, that's boundary number 2. If you want to go there, it's knowing your position. Everyone has a position on the field. You know, you got the pitcher, the catcher, the shortstop, outfielders, infielders, those things that, you know, when you think about a pitcher, I think about a parent or a step parent.
Okay.
They have these roles that they pitch guidance, rules, love, right? To keep the game moving. They set the tone. The bases, you know, that could be the kids or whatnot that's in there that, you know, second base covers a lot of ground. The child might be the peacemaker, the one who helps siblings constantly moving around to keep, you know, things smooth. Home plate should be the one that is where you score within the family. That's your safe place. And to me, Mosaic Family's home is the place where everyone, the effort comes together and love becomes a winner. So knowing your position and not overstepping. When a parent says, well, wait till your father comes home or wait till your mother comes home, we give away our authority. And it doesn't help keep our position into play.
You know, you said something really interesting here to me when you talked about the peacemaker. You reminded me the whole purpose of the Change in Mind Over Matter Mondays, and they, you know, it used to be that myself and my co-hosts, and you know, I pretty much had run out of stuff to say. Everybody knew everything that everybody already knows everything I know. But the purpose is to bring in different disciplines so that we can resonate and be listening for what we like. Now, while you were just speaking just now, I had forgotten about something so vital that I learned and taught a long time ago, the precursor to Myers-Briggs and DISC and all these, you know, 20th and 21st century avatar personality, et cetera. It all came from, a lot of it from the Enneagram, which is a 4,000-year-old Sufi precursor to those. And I studied that. And one of them is, right, the protector. One of them is the leader. And I'm trying to think of how many there are. There's more than 9. I think there are 12. But the idea is that so here's what's interesting. Each one of those positions, whether it's charismatic, leader, loyalist, adventurer, peacemaker, whichever it is now, would that be beneficial in determining for a family, the family members in the Mosaic, which strength each one has? Because each person is going to lean more towards certain behaviors and attributes. And it just occurred to me, is that something you do when you're determining boundaries for different family members, that there may be 2 or 3 people that are good at one thing, but the person that's better at keeping the peace manages that boundary? Or am I going down a crazy road?
Well, here's the thing. It's what has made us into the people we are. Yes, personality comes into play, but how come one child is becoming the peacemaker? Is it because the parents are feuding? They are ignoring them? I mean, there's so many different things. The problem that we have is that we have not educated families on how to be a family. There needs to be more education on families, how to be a family. That's why we have therapy. It's great. Trying to create the Mosaic Family Institute, Neil Beam and I. Neil Beam is one of the guys that helped worked with Amazon. He's now a chief technical officer for Eagle Rider, a great guy. We're coming together so that we can help start creating anchors within family to help teach, formulate what are some ways that we can be able to understand the positions within family. But when you talk about personality, are we allowing them to be who they are?
Yeah.
As a faith-based person, Solomon said in spoil the rod, you're going to
spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yes, thank you.
Spank
I need more caffeine this morning. Yes, it's that. And the rod was not meant to be a spanking. We think immediately, if I'm going to hold spanking or punishment, I'm going to spoil. It's about instruction. What ways can we instruct so that the child can go in the way he should? And so when you think about these personalities, I mean, my daughter was strong-willed, but I'm thankful for that strong-willed and helped her because she's thriving today, as a school teacher, getting her master's, those type of things. And when we think about what ways can we allow our children to be heard, it develops better attachment styles and personalities.
Okay, let's do the last one so we can move on, because we're honing in on the final few minutes. What do you mean by complete every play? Does that, I assume that means, and this is what the first thought that came to me was that don't move on into another situation that needs a solution before you complete this one. Is that correct?
When you talk about communication, I often tell couples, men are like stick shifts. You got to push our clutch in to get us in the right gear frame of mind. And what I mean by that is asking the question, do you want me to process with you, or do you need me to listen? And sometimes we need to do that in all factors of Mosaic Family. Because, when we think about boundary 3, knowing your signals and call timeouts, you're going to have these wild pitches. Out of bound words is going to hurt someone. Catcher's mitt is the one that they catch everything that comes at them. So it helps you to have active listening. All timeouts when it's needed, when things get hit, there. And so it's important to be able to help people, especially Mosaic Family, be patient, because we don't know what this individual is going through when we come across the blended family. One of the people that I interviewed had a biological children, adopted 13 children, and he was married 3 times, but the last one lasted for 30 years. So if we're open-minded, as my dad would say, your mind is like a parachute. It only opens when it functions when it opens. And so what ways can we allow other people to influence and to grow for us to make the change, to be the mosaic in somebody's life?
I love it. I love it. This has been awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, one of the things we'd love for you to do right now is of the ideas that you've heard today, my friends, what one idea, like the most delicious whipping cream at the top on the top of your hot coffee, what's one idea that resonated with you during this conversation that kind of is louder than the rest, that you want to remember because you want to share it with someone else? So please let us know in the comments. This is going to help Dr. Steve with his second book. And I'm taking full credit for it. Well, I was trying to make it a volleyball court, but he likes baseball better, and I like baseball too. So it's perfect, right? But let us know what one thing was it? Was it, hold on a second. Was it the rules? Was it the questions? Was it the questions we asked when someone confronted us? This works in anything you're doing, in the office, in corporate America, in church groups, in your classes, your educational classes. It doesn't matter. There are communities everywhere, and we're all leaders. And by that, I mean that we are models for people that are there. What kind of a role model or kind of behavior will we be modeling? That, complete, listen actively, play fair, be kind, look for the greatness in those other people. Everybody falls, but not everybody hears how wonderful they are. And you're wonderful, Dr. Steve, because you brought this to us. So what one idea, if you would put that in the comments, I would so much appreciate that. And so would Dr. Steve. And so now we want to thank you for being here. And here is his connection, Dr. Steve's connection on LinkedIn, Dr. Steve Hudgins. And thank you for introducing us to Piece by Piece, my blended experience of a Mosaic family. And it's coming out in September, right? On a very special day. I hate to say the day, but I'll tell you it's his birthday. So now you don't know the day, but when it happens, you'll go, oh, that's Dr. Steve's birthday. So watch for it. It is amazing. And as I said, I had the privilege of line editing this manuscript, and I know this is going to make a huge difference because there are so many Mosaic families, right? They're not all blended. It's no longer blended. It's so diverse, so important, because I don't like those. I really do not like the statistics. I was married for 30 years. Was it all perfect? No. But I took pride as all of our friends' marriages fell apart, Dr. Steve.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my children when they were in their 20s. Mama, you and Daddy were the only two-parent families of all our friends. Right? We really appreciate it, but they didn't realize it in high school. But almost everybody was in a broken family. Now ours broke, but not before we were able to get them out on their own and, instilling in them the best character of us both. We didn't stay together for the children. I'll tell you that. It wasn't that. It was, for me, this was my choice, the way it is and the way it isn't. I made a choice, and I'm going to move hell and high water to complete my agreement. And now, of course, my cursor is misbehaving, so I can't bring you back up here. There we go. So I can. So be on the lookout for Dr. Steve's book. Nicole will make sure that we'll be watching for your answers. What is the one thing that you heard today that just really, you might have even heard it before, but somehow today It was crystal clear. That's what happens as you grow in awareness. Out of confusion comes clarity. And your last words, Dr. Steve, to everyone here who has spent this time with you. We're a little bit over, but I want to hear your last words to our wonderful audience, please.
Just remember, every family, like every mosaic, is made with broken pieces that still hold beauty when brought together with love. So don't be afraid of the cracks. That's where the light comes through. And so keep loving with courage and keep showing up as a piece only you can be.
Oh, thank you so much. This was amazing. I deeply appreciate your being here, and I would like to have you back another time. Thank you. And I'll move you back into the studio. And now, my friends, have a fabulous week. Thank you for being here. Go out and be kind to everybody. Listen carefully, ask questions, look for the greatness in one another, and have a brilliant week. See you soon. I'm working at this. Little bandwidth issues here. Okay, so much for bandwidth. Bye, everybody. Have a great week. I don't know what happened. Doesn't matter. Love you all. Thanks, Dr. Steve.